Welcome to the Live Lead Legacy Podcast, everyone. I'm your host, Carlos Luna. This episode kicks off a special series that I've been wanting to do for a long time. In workers' compensation and insurance, we spend a lot of time talking about claims, about metrics, about litigation, certainly compliance and outcomes. But the truth is, behind every file and every decision, and certainly every organization, there are people. People with stories, people who go through very real struggles, people that live with purpose, and you'll relate to this, people who never expected their career journey to lead them here. One thing I've learned over the years is this: people do business with other people, not businesses. When you really think about it, trust is built person to person. And in an industry that is often misunderstood from the outside, I think we've done a poor job of telling the human side of what we do. Because the truth is, there's a lot of heart in this work. My hope is that these conversations help humanize the industry just a little bit more and maybe inspire someone new to enter into this profession, perhaps maybe even reconnect somebody to why they started working in the industry in the first place. In our first episode of the series, we sit down with Mr. Matt Finn and Ms. Shamae Richards of Eaze Med Solutions. Let's get into it. Guys, I'm so thrilled to have you guys on the Live Lead Legacy Podcast. It's been a long time coming, and I really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to speak with us about the services that you offer over at Eaze Med, but perhaps more importantly, what it means to you, right? And the substance behind the services that you offer. I want to start out by learning a little bit about who you are each as individuals, certainly what's important to you, what you're passionate about, what that journey to leadership looked like for you. And then we'll jump into the Eaze Med story. I want to learn about what is important to Eaze Med. What is a company founded on, the values, the principles? And then finally, we'll talk about essentially how that fits into place in the global workers' compensation ecosystem. So Matt, I want to start off with you as the CEO of Eaze Med. Tell us about Matt Finn.
Yeah, so I've had a unique journey. I came from a logistics, sourcing / purchasing background of things. And I've been able to slowly move my way up in the rankings here in the leadership side of things. And I take a lot of pride in it, taking care of our patients and members. I say that because logistics is very quick moving. Purchasing, it's all about cost containment and how we can help the company be profitable, as well as cost savings for the people that we work with.
I love it. I love it, Matt. I want you to take us back to a time where Matt Finn wasn't the consummate professional, right? I want you to take us back to little Matty on the corner, maybe riding his bike with his buddies. What was your upbringing like?
Man, that's a good question. I grew up just playing basketball. The basketball was my heart, my life, just everything. And I learned a lot of concepts growing up, just about hard work, being disciplined. Just having that foundation really helped me be successful getting into where I'm at right now.
Matt, where did you grow up? What state?
In Utah.
Okay, well, Utah's a beautiful place. I live in Colorado. There are a lot of similarities between the two states in terms of, just their makeup, the mountainous environments that we have the pleasure to live in. What were some of the fun things that you remember as a kid in Utah? Some of the activities outside of basketball that you remember as a kid?
Well, that was pretty much all I was doing. I would be riding my bikes with my friends. We would be just playing video games, just all the things, kids would be doing. But I think just spending time with my friends were really the big thing, and just getting to know them, building the relationship, getting to know their parents as well, and just taking our scooters, taking our bikes, right across the city. We felt like we were on the top of the world from one end of the city to the next. But yeah, that was pretty much the upbringing of my side of things.
I want you to think about, and I'm not going to put you on the spot here. We'll come back in just a few minutes. I want to talk to Miss Shamae as well, but I want you to think about, what did your journey to the C suite look like? What did that feel like for you emotionally? Right. And mentally, I think a lot of people that are out there have a tendency to misunderstand, I think, the journey to the C suite. And oftentimes it's a very lonely place, right, for executives to sit in. But I want you to think about that journey. And I'm going to come back to you in just a moment. Miss Shamae, I really appreciate you being here today. Are you also from Utah?
Yes and no. So I was born in Utah, spent about a third of my childhood there, moved to Maine and spent another third of my childhood there, and then moved back to Utah, and then Texas, and then back to Utah. So I'm in Utah now, but yeah, I kind of was all over the place when I was little.
You did a lot of traveling. Wow, that sounds phenomenal. I actually had the opportunity to spend some time in Maine in my earlier years as an adult. Beautiful place, awesome seafood over there. They call themselves Mainers, the locals from Maine,
Yep.
right? They have a very interesting culture out there. And that's fantastic that you had an appreciation for various states growing up as a child. Tell us about young Shamae. What was she like? What were some of your interests? Matt was into basketball. Were you also into sports growing up?
Yeah, I again was kind of all over the place. So I'm one of eight. I'm the second oldest of eight kiddos. And we were encouraged to just try anything and everything. So I've played soccer, I've played basketball, I've cheered, I've been in choir, I've played piano and the flute and just a little. I'm not good at any of those things, but I tried everything.
Well, isn't it part of the growth process for everyone is to understand that you've got some growth to do, right? You're not the best. You need to practice. Practice makes perfect, as they say. So I guess if you were in a place mentally where you thought you were the best, you probably weren't as good as you thought you were.
That's very true. Yeah. And I'm not afraid to be a beginner. I know I'm not going to be amazing at everything at first.
I love that. I myself, as I've grown both in age and professionally, I've understood that keeping that mentality of a student is extremely conducive to success, right? Keeping that curiosity and always seeing the opportunity for growth, I think, is a great attribute to have as a person.
Agreed. Yep.
I actually grew up, believe it or not, Shamae, I was a band geek.
Were you?
Yes, I was.
What
I
instrument?
played the drums. And
Okay.
later on in high school, I got into brass. I played the saxophone. I played the trumpet.
Ooh.
But I
Uh-huh.
remember some of my fondest memories as a kid were from band camps and the various trips that we took across the country. Did you also have the opportunity to travel as being part of the band?
As part of the band, not as part of the band, but as other things that I was a part of. So I agree. I think that those are some of the fondest memories. I was part of a leadership group in middle school when I was up in Maine, and we had the opportunity to travel upstate and attend a couple of college courses and a little camp there. And yeah, those are super fond memories, being able to lean in with friends into a similar experience.
I love it. I love it. It sounds like young Shamae had a blast as a kid, and that's great to hear. Matt, let's jump into your professional journey. So today you play a pivotal role in Eaze. Tell us about your journey to the CEO suite. Tell us about any valleys that you may have encountered along the way. And then set the stage for us as we start to transition over into the Eaze story.
Yeah, it's definitely a unique story how I got here. I started with at Eaze as the purchasing manager there. I worked very closely with Darcy, as we're going to be talking about how she started Eaze momentarily. And because of my leadership skills within the team, I was able to climb up to as the vice president of finances. And then, unfortunately, Darcy had passed away. back in 2024. And the children asked me to help be the face of the company and make these tough calls. As we know, as when you're in the C-suite, you got to make some tough calls. Ever since 2024, I've been in this spot. It's been, as I said, it's a unique journey. It's a thing that I just got thrown into. I've been very vulnerable of I'm still learning on the fly. And I think that's what's important and how I've been able to get to this point and how the company's been successful to now is because I've been surrounding myself with very experienced people in the respective areas. At first, when I was asked to run the company, I feel like the imposter syndrome was a real thing. I feel like even now it's still a thing, but I had the impression I had to know everything and be the expert in everything. And that's, it's a daunting task. I feel like that's setting yourself up for failure if you're trying to learn on the fly and just trying to be the expert in something that you're not at the time.
I couldn't agree with you more there, Matt. And I think that as a leader, it's really important for you to embrace and understand that you don't know it all. And I think that when you do embrace that fact, you're able to surround yourself with people who complement your skills and who complement your knowledge base, right? The fact of the matter is, being a leader is more about team building than it is being a lone ranger. Is understanding the areas in your own person that you need to prop up, if you will. And you find those people that are going to come alongside of you and prop those areas up and be better together as opposed to taking it on alone. Something that stands out about what you just shared with us is, and please correct me if I'm wrong here, but I'm understanding you being a CEO wasn't on the roadmap for you. That wasn't the destination that you, at least at this point in time in your life, had thought that that's where you would end up. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, that's, right. Nailed it. Maybe down the road when I'd be 40, 50 years old, but my age right now, it's flattering to be in this spot, right? But it was not in the cards for me at this time. And obviously I don't want to take it for granted. I want to I make sure that everyone's around me is taken care of. Our patients are taken care of. There's a lot being relied on me, and I trust the people around me are also taking that seriously as well. They take a very good. They're an integral part of this as well.
Matt, another thing that stands out that you mentioned was the fact that, you contended with imposter syndrome. And as you mentioned, sometimes it's still something that you have to navigate, right, as a leader. I think that a lot of leaders that are watching this will relate to that very personally. In fact, I'll tell you, early on in my career in the C-suite, certainly imposter syndrome was very loud. It was very real, very prominent. And it was something that I had to really get through and understand that from time to time, you are going to feel inadequate. But if you're able to navigate that appropriately by digging into the knowledge, digging into the quality of the products and services that you offer, and really being authentic with the people around you, really helps you to feel better equipped.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Shamae, I know you play an integral part over at Eaze Med. Tell us about your role in Eaze Med and your journey to that role.
Yeah. So, we'll get real vulnerable here because without some obstacles, I didn't end up at Eaze. But so starting my professional kind of career, I was always a server, and serving is near and dear to my heart. Being able to serve others is a huge thing for me, and I think that really set me up for being able to be a servant leader and get down with my people and navigate through. So early on was just serving, and then I started at a contact lens company. So kind of in the healthcare industry, not where I'm at now, but I started on the phones as a call center agent and worked my way up. Like I mentioned, one of my big things is servant leadership, and so I think that I got endorsed a lot by my peers and by my people because I would just be alongside of them. That's how I knew to help to inspire, and I worked my way up. I became a senior leader within the customer department. I had about 250 people reporting to my downline. And I actually was the most stressed I'd ever been and was very much trying to prove myself at this time in my career. I had an underlying undiagnosed condition of bipolar, and stress can cause a lot of havoc there. And so I ended up having a manic episode, and that's when I was diagnosed with bipolar. Mania is wild, and you're not yourself during it. And I did some things that required, accountability on my side. And so I did end up losing my job with them. Eaze, Darcy, our founder, knew how to pick gems and how to give a safe spot to land and kind of get back on your feet. And so that's how I ended up at Eaze Med. I came over as a HR associate, and helped kind of navigate and build up our human resources program. I was the first one, in that role for the company, and then worked my way up into business development. I'm very passionate about process improvement and employee engagement. And so it kind of was the best of both worlds there.
Shamae, as you talk about your journey, the realization of your mental health, for those individuals that might be watching today, what pearls of wisdom would you offer to them? Maybe they themselves feel under equipped or under pressure because they're navigating similar mental health issues. What type of advice would you give them as they navigate that combined with their professional roles?
That's a really good question. I think the first bit of advice that I would give is that you matter, you're important, and your mental health matters. It trumps everything. Without mental health, you are not
Mm,
healthy. And so being able to figure out a way to manage and kind of treat it before it gets to the point of burnout or mania or these consequences of not dealing with those struggles. So I'd say, learn your signs, understand what those triggers are and what those signs are that you are struggling mentally, and then understand your resources, communicate with those involved. I think that being able to be vulnerable and say, hey, I need to show up for myself this way and I need support in this way goes a long way with working with your employer and with your colleagues to allow them to show up for you. I
mm.
think that a lot of us suffer in silence, and that just makes the situation worse. You feel alone. Your employer, your people don't know what's going on, so they don't know how to help. So I'd say, yeah, the biggest thing is speak up. You matter. Your mental health matters. And then take care of yourself, right? No one can save you. You can save yourself.
Two words really just hit me in the face, Shamae, that you said, and that is, well, three words: suffer in silence, right? I can't help but think that there are a lot of people out there, right, that may be watching this that we've never known may be navigating these types of complexities in their lives. And I think that for those of us that may not be on that journey, need to be aware, right, that we never know what someone is navigating from a mental health standpoint. And therefore, it just emphasizes the importance of being kind, of being understanding, being patient, right? And sometimes just asking a question of a coworker that may be navigating that, if they need help or if they're okay, right? If there's anything that you can do. I really appreciate you being courageous enough to share your personal journey with mental health, Shamae. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's challenging because there's stigmas out there, right? And you never want to fall into a stigma or a box that you don't want to be in. And going back to that suffering in silence, you don't know until you know. And you're alone until you find the people to understand. And you can't do that without speaking up about it. It's hard. And scary to talk about it, but I think it's very important.
Well, thank you for that. Really appreciate that, Shamae. We'll include some resources as part of our podcast today in the comments section for those of you watching, in case you're navigating these types of complexities in your life, and know that you are not alone and you don't have to suffer in silence. Thank you so much, Shamae. Really appreciate that. Let's talk a little bit more about this amazing human being that you guys brought up, Darcy. I never had the pleasure of meeting Darcy or ever even knowing about her. And that may just say more about me and my life living under a rock, right? But tell me a little bit more about Darcy and her legacy. It sounds like she was an incredible human being with great capacity of compassion, right? To extend her arms around the two of you and really mentor you to the places that you are today at EazeMed. Tell us a little bit more about Darcy.
Yeah, Darce is one of my favorite people. She was strong and independent. She knew how to advocate for herself and for her people. She really understood relationships. That was my biggest takeaway from my time under her mentorship, was the nurturing of a human relationship and not just a business relationship. She understood how to connect with people. Sometimes probably needed a little more boundaries than she had, but she really understood connecting with people and meeting people where they were at. And I think that made her such an amazing leader, because you instantly were inspired and felt understood when you talked to her.
I tell you, some of the most impactful people in my life were individuals just like Darcy, individuals that at times I would say, excuse me, you're over the line here. You shouldn't be asking me about that. But in retrospect, those were the individuals that cared enough, right, about reaching beyond and wanting to make an impact in my life that mattered more than just the professional world, right? And Darcy strikes me as someone who really cared about the individuals that surrounded her, even beyond the workplace, which is incredible in terms of the impact that she may have had on the two of you, certainly, right, as I'm hearing, but also on the individuals that aren't on camera today that work at EazeMed. She probably created such a wonderful culture corporately that really created a lot of loyalty within the organization from the people. Did you guys ever have a situation at EazeMed that required tough love? How did Darcy approach tough love? And um, I realize that we're talking about the workplace, so maybe tough love is not the greatest label to put on it. But, you mentioned earlier, Shamae, accountability, right? How did Darcy approach accountability?
Great question. I think there was something that needed to be worked on. However, that was something that we were trying to help coach her on. She had a massive heart. I don't think I ever met someone that had a big as heart as Darcy did. That's how she ran the company. They got her into trouble sometimes, right? Just because of the big heartedness. But circling back to the tough love part, there would be some, like, I remember one time myself, I received that tough love, and it's because I laid the boundary early on working here, that it's like, Darcy, if I mess up on something, don't be afraid to get into me if you have to. I'm not going to be offended or anything like that. And I remember there was a circumstance where we're able to have that tough love conversation. And I think that's where I appreciated the coaching that had happened. We've all worked with various leaders where if you make a mistake, they'll be coming after you pretty quickly, and you'll be questioning if you want to still be working there and whatnot. And what stood out to me is she came to me and was like, hey, you made this mistake. This is how I would do it moving forward. For me, that's what stood out to me, of how, like, I want to be able to lead people in that same fashion, because people are going to make mistakes. We're all people. I want to be able to sympathize with them of, hey, you should never think that your job is in jeopardy just because you made one mistake. But together, we're going to be able to learn from this and move forward. That's pretty much how I lead now, is just showing how taking along people along the journey of how they can how they can improve from any mistake that they might make.
I love that she really was intentional about setting a foundation of compassion, it sounds like, within the organization, which has so many benefits to it, right? It creates a culture of safety where individuals aren't afraid to verbalize where they've gone wrong or where they need help. And it creates that loyalty that I was talking about, right, to the company brand, but more importantly, to the company's customers, right, where it matters more than just fulfilling a transaction because the foundation of compassion has already been laid by the number one person in the company, right? Walk me through the culture and the values at Eaze Med. You guys are unique as I've been learning more and more about your organization in preparation for our conversation today. One of the things that stands out to me is just how much you truly care about the end user of the products and services that you provide through your self-insured, self-administered clients, through the carrier clients, as well as your TPA clients. But walk us through those values and those principles that Eaze Med stands on.
So if I can jump into this, I think that that's one of the big things that aligned so much and made me want to come to Eaze and work for Darcy was those values. The very first biggest value is empathy and understanding who you're working with. Like you had mentioned, that end user, the injured worker, understanding and putting yourself in their shoes and doing everything possible to make the situation as easy as possible for them because it's already such a like they went to work one day and their life changed, right? And so that empathy and putting yourself in others' shoes. Another one of my favorites is when there's a will, there's a way, and there's always a way, right? We don't take no for an answer. There's one situation that Darcy actually helped. She would always jump in the front line and be like, "All right, let's figure this out. Let's do this." And there, we had a client in Alaska that needed to make a 400-mile trip to the hospital. It was blizzarding. Everything was shut down. She found someone with a handicap accessible 4-wheel van truck thing to drive this patient the 4 hours to get the medical care that he needed. And it comes back to that value of you put yourself in their shoes and navigate whatever you can to make sure that they're taken care of. And that goes like we obviously the patient forward and we adjust to meet our clients' needs because we understand what a unique situation we're in the industry. And we want to make it as cost effective, as efficient, as white glove, as personalized as possible for our people as well. And really the relationship side, like we harp on, we're here to build relationships. We're here to know Matt, to process Matt.
As we were preparing for this conversation, you guys shared a story with me that was really cool. I've never heard of anything like this. And I affectionately think of this story. I put labels on everything, and my label on this story is FedEx man or UPS man, delivery man, right? You shared with me about a story where one of your executives, one of your top people, took time to make sure that a delivery happened to a client. Talk to us about that story.
Matt, if you want to share, you were here.
Yeah, it's a really cool experience. Basically what happened was, if I remember right, it was like a Saturday and the injured worker was having surgery. He needed the product by that Saturday for his surgery coming up on that Monday. And pretty much the delivery service said, tough luck. It's somewhere in the warehouse. It's not going to deliver until the following week. And it's actually our owner, our new owner, and he took it upon himself and didn't take no for an answer. He was on the phone, I think 5 or 6 hours, just trying to get in touch with FedEx. He eventually got in touch with the person at the FedEx facility where the package was at, somehow convinced him to go and leave what he was doing and went and searched every box in this warehouse, found it, and got that delivered to the injured worker. Like we said, we don't take no for an answer. We'll do everything that we can. We'll exhaust all our resources as much as possible. Where we don't treat people like they're a number or a transaction. We treat them like they're our significant other, our family members. You'll do anything for your family member or any close one, and so we treat our injured workers just in the same spot. We want to make sure that they're taken care of. They feel understood, heard, felt, and we go the extra mile to make sure that their service is exceptional.
Again, it's that foundation of compassion, right? You've got to treat others in a way that you would like to be treated yourself, right? On a Saturday, on a weekend, this individual made it happen. What an impact to that injured worker's life. I really appreciate it. I'm sharing these anecdotes and these stories to underscore the fact that behind the services that we provide, behind the claims administration that we do, behind the underwriting that we do, there are real people. And there are real people on both sides of the fence. The injured worker is a real breathing human being, right? A real person that is valued. Conversely, on the other side of the fence, the claims administrator, the service provider, the underwriter, all human beings as well. And I think that there needs to be an emphasis on that, right? Is that business carries on going forward because of the people behind that business. So I really appreciate you guys being transparent about those stories today. It's certainly very, very inspirational. If you had to put on your Back to the Future glasses or Forward to the Future, I don't know. I want you to think about 5 years down the road, right? What does EazeMed look like then? And where are you as professionals in that season for EazeMed? I'm going to start with you, Matt, and then Shamae, give some thought to that question. I want to ask you the very same question. Where are you in 5 years, and where's EazeMed in 5 years, Matt?
I hope I'm still at Eaze in 5 years. I love working here. I just love the employees. We just have such good people working here. It's fun. It's refreshing to go into work and build that relationship even more. I hope the company, we're triple in size, quadruple in size. I hope we keep growing. Right. At the end of the day, it shows that we're doing something right, taking care of our injured workers. And I hope that, we just, as we continue to grow, I want to make sure our employees feel like they're our family members at the end of the day. I don't want to have our employees feel like numbers. And the same thing goes with our injured workers. I would love to keep that same family feel that we have now, and keep on growing on top of that. Just never lose that. That's what's made us successful. And I don't ever want to lose that.
I love that, Matt. Something tells me that you're going to be very successful accomplishing that, man. That's really cool. Shamae, what about you? Where are you at in 5 years?
That's a really good question. I am one that, I think people use buzzwords sometimes in corporate, but the growth mindset, like that is, I love learning. I love developing new skills and sharpening skills that maybe you don't use all the time. And so honestly, I'm wherever Eaze needs me in 5 years. I'm a utility player, and I have fully caught the passion and the vision of Eaze. So they have me. I think that for Eaze in 5 years, it will be an interesting place to be in because there's so much happening with AI and with technology right now that it's a constant conversation that we have at Eaze is how do we keep up with technology and efficiencies, but don't lose don't lose that human touch, that human care, that human judgment and problem solving. And so I would say in 5 years, we're even more kind of distinct in what we do because I see a lot of it moving towards a digital, keep up with the times as fast as possible. And I see us maintaining that relationship forward and the people forward. And so I see us in a unique situation in 5 years of being one of the people you can get a human when you call.
That's phenomenal. I love that. And something tells me, Shamae, that you're going to really be a pivotal part in Eaze accomplishing that as well. As you both navigate the workers' compensation landscape around the country, I've seen you both at numerous conferences, which is phenomenal. I love the fact that you are engaged in our national community. Is there any one thing that stands out to you that you would say, as an industry, I think that we really should focus on this, or as an industry, I think we would be well served and serve the individuals that we ultimately service, right? We would do better by them if we only focused a little bit more on this.
I think for me, what I've found interesting opportunity is the mental health side of the industry, right? Like getting back to work doesn't just mean your bone getting better or, that whatever the injury is, being able to get back that confidence and get back that self purpose and sense, and the mental health side of things is so pivotal, and I think that it's a newer area of conversation within the country and within the industry as well. So I would say that's a big piece that if we want, our ultimate goal is to get injured workers a better quality of life and back to as much as they possibly can. The mental health aspect is a huge component of that.
Matt, what about you? You're like
I just
what
say,
she said.
yeah, I was gonna say ditto, right? No, I like mental health is actually that popped in my head ever since COVID, right? Like life, the world changed at once COVID happened. Everyone started working from home, and you feel siloed, just
Yeah.
working in your corner, right? And I mean, Shamae's been wonderful with sharing her experiences with mental health. We have other employees that's also vocalized and talked about mental health as well, and I think that's definitely the trend of the industry is getting, helping our injured workers with the mental health, because at the end of the day, it's just not them getting back to work. They still will be affected one way or the other afterward. And if we can advocate for them, for their mental well-being, I think it goes a long ways for everyone involved.
On that note, I think the one thing that we can kind of focus on an industry is aligning in that objective or goal. I think that you and I have talked about it, aligning incentives, right? To where we're all working towards that one ultimate thing, and there's a continuity of care as seamless as a process, an experience from the injured worker.
Absolutely. Matt and Shamae, once again, thank you so much for joining us today on Live Lead Legacy. The insights that you provided today, both on your personal journeys as well as your professional journeys, are very inspirational. Thank you both. And we'll see you out there on the conference circuit.
Yeah, thank
Absolutely.
you.
Thank you very much for your
Yeah, if you
time.
see me, come say hi.
And that's what Live Lead Legacy is all about. Real conversations with real people whose work impacts lives every single day. A big thank you to Matt Finn and Shamae Richards for sharing their stories, their leadership journeys, and perspective with us today. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure and subscribe, share it with someone in the industry, and join us for the next conversation. Until next time, keep leading with purpose and leave a legacy worth remembering.